going on? And welcome back to the BFC, where we go into the trenches of the trading world and complete DD from the source. A special shout out to the entire BFC community and the BFC Discord. I hope you guys had an awesome, wonderful Easter and had a great weekend. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll keep bringing the live DD. We're gonna just keep doing it. And hey, we're almost at 2,000 YouTube subs. How awesome is that? Who would have thought, right? So I just want to get right into it. I don't want to waste any time today. I have the management team here from Dddx Industries, Mr. Harold Blackwell on acquisitions, VP Nick Coriano, and CEO Roger Jansen. Let's bring him in for this roundtable. Gentlemen, welcome back to the BFC. How you doing?
Great. Thank you, Eric.
I mean, not as good as that intro.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. I love it.
You know what? We're trying to put all the bells and whistles on here, aren't we?
Nah, you've come a long way since the start. And congrats on the 2,000 subs on YouTube, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're cranking it out. We're getting there, and we're just going to keep on grinding. That's what we do. So you guys could open up with whatever you want to share. I have a couple questions lined up for you, but if you want to greet the audience, greet your shareholders, greet potential shareholders, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today.
That's it. Yeah, thank you for everybody that comes on. Thank you for all the supporters. Thank you for all the long-term shareholders and everybody who's new to the company. We're as transparent as can be. We have an open door policy. You can always stop by the shop, and my phone number is on my Twitter. If you have any questions, just give us a call. But thanks for having us, Eric.
Thank you. All right, it's great to have you here. Now, there hasn't been any official news since November last year, and I want to go back to that PR, and I want you to talk about the progress that you guys have made in the last couple months. You know, it was an exciting PR. You talked about unveiling your strategic efforts to engage with larger corporations in specific sectors, including aerospace technology and the marine industry. Our aim was to establish mutually beneficial partnerships and expand our presence in these domains. We are pleased to report that our outreach endeavors are yielding promising results. And it also talked in that same PR in regards to working with, as a subcontractor, with a prominent manufacturer that was contracted by Boeing. And so those are some exciting things. What can you share on the progress that you've made in the last couple months and where we're going here?
Yeah, Eric, since that press release, we've been working with a lot of companies. There's a couple, you know, like there's Caterpillar and there's McLean Fogg. We're printing parts for them and various aspects of different technology and tools that we're working to build for them. And one of the things that's kind of interesting, I'll take Boeing right off the bat. You know, there's a lot of restructuring going on with Boeing right now. So there's a tremendous opportunity with tooling and ground support. They're very happy with the parts we printed in the fall that had to do with that press release. And those doors are wide open. Those doors take a long time to open up. And for Dddx here, we've been talking to those people for quite some time, and they're all there. They're excited about our technology. They do a lot of their own 3D printing, but they cannot even possibly come close to keeping up with the demand that's there. So we entertain quotes for them all the time. We're working on a new project with Caterpillar. That's a tooling device. It's really interesting. That's something I'll be getting into more down the road that I can't say a lot about right at this time. And the other industries, we, on a day-by-day basis, Dddx management here, we continue these relationships and we talk about projects. And as we grow, those projects are going to turn into proper contracts. So those doors are open and we're always knocking on them and answering. So we're ready to move with those guys when the time's right. And the time will eventually be right for sure.
And to add to that, to layer to that comment, you know, manufacturing, for those that don't know, manufacturing is not a drive-through product, right? You don't go through the drive-through and order a part. It's a relationship process first, and then a product or a part process later. So, you know, you don't just get an order from Boeing. You meet the management at Boeing first, and then you have the conversations with them, and then, you know, they may look into your company, and then they may send you something to bid on, maybe. Right. And it might be through a subcontractor, may not even be through Boeing, right? Even after making that relationship. So, you know, some of these relationships that Roger has had in the industry for decades now are starting to bear fruit for those guys who are just getting to know Dddx and the additive manufacturing space. They have to realize that additive manufacturing has just come to market, right? So as far as, when you talk about a NACS code, and you can actually, submit a government contract or bid on something under the NACS code. Usually it was subtractive manufacturing. 3D printing, additive manufacturing just got added as a NACS code, I think a year ago, onto the database. So before that, you couldn't even, specialize or specify that you were doing additive printing in the first place, or additive manufacturing in the first place. So it's exciting to be part of a company that was 6 years ahead of the NACS code, right? The NACS code just comes out, so I just wanted to layer that to the
and to that same point, Nick, one of the NACS codes is just starting to hit the streets. Been working on for years by GE Power out of South Carolina there, and we actually bought one of our machines from them as they upgraded and changed their business model. But he mentioned to us when we picked that up, he says these parts that we developed on your machine are going to be coming to tender out there for bid, and if you don't have this equipment, you won't be bidding on it.
Impressive. And you guys, and I think that you touched on something that is very important is maintaining that network. You didn't use those exact words, but building those relationships, keeping your network open and fluid is absolutely crucial, and it's crucial for success in anything, no matter what you do. I think.
Yeah. And just having the network understand what we do, right? Like a lot of people still don't understand additive manufacturing. When we talk about 3D printing, a lot of the conversations about 3D printing were in the resin space for a very long time. They weren't in the metal 3D printing space, right? So we were way ahead of the curve, so ahead of the curve that, there's a lot of people that look at us, including ourselves, and say, wow, this investment is a long road, but it's because we were so ahead of the curve that the demand hadn't even met there, right? They were still figuring out the technologies. So I'm excited that, now that it's coming to fruition and that these manufacturers are starting to place these orders, that we're primed for it, because nothing's going to make up for the 7 years, the 8 years that we've been here, right? So when, you go to a Caterpillar or a Boeing and you want to even have the conversation, the fact that we've been in the space for almost a decade is, giving us legacy rights that it just creates a larger barrier to entry and a moat for our business that our competitors can't come in overnight, right, and take over. So that's exciting.
Well, Eric, what's interesting, a little short story on that. When we were an early adopter on the bell curve for metal printing, and we didn't really realize how early we were until after we had our first machine almost 2.5 years. The company we bought it from sent somebody out to our facility to write the operations manual. That's how new we were. We were like the guys that we didn't realize we were teaching people.
Yeah. So let me repeat that, because a lot of people, it's going to fly over their head what he just said, right? Yeah. It's like buying a car, and then when you go to fix it, they send the engineer out to write the book on how to fix the car, right? Like that's what happened there. So I think that you need to underscore that, because it really shows how ahead of the curve 3DX was, and it answers a lot of the questions in terms of revenue and where we are in the process, right? Because we're a company that we took a lot of the arrows going over the hill, right, before the war even started. So it just goes to underscore that how early they were there, that these machines didn't even have an operations manual, and when they were writing it, they were writing it at the 3DX facility. So that's exciting for us.
And those manuals look great now, by the way. So
all right, and great answer. I want to talk a little bit about the North American 3D printing market. In 2023, last year, it was valued at $4.4 billion. Right now, it looks like, from 2024 to 2030, there's going to be a compound annual growth rate of 22.4%. And specifically to 3D metal printing, you were valued in 2021 $5.12 billion, and it's again states here that it's going to grow exponentially. So my question is, what are you guys doing? And I know that there's been a lot of shareholders and investors and traders just like they are chomping at the bit for meaty news and just like waiting for you guys to put a major dent into this industry, especially that it's going to grow exponentially over the next 6 years. So what are you guys doing to really try and do that?
Well, I'll start that conversation, then Roger can add on to it. One of the things we realized in the last couple years was that while we're way ahead of metal 3D printing, the technology is catching up, right, to the point of the NACS code just coming out. So one of the things we realized is, as we made so many strides in metal 3D printing, we realized oh man, the resin 3D printing technology has really been ironed out. So it again, if you look at it on a curve, right? Resin 3D printing came out first. The bubble came, the bubble popped. People thought there wasn't a lot of use case for it. Then metal 3D printing came. Everybody got re-excited about metal 3D printing, kind of forgot about resin. And as that technology got proved out, what a lot of people didn't notice was that resin 3D printing, if you go back to that graph actually, which is actually, if you go back twice, right? So this one says 4.4. And I want to just state this. If you look underneath, you see all the different kinds of 3D printing.
Yes.
And then if you go to the next chart that you gave us, so that one says 4.4 and this one says 5.1 billion, right? And the reason it's so
that's 2021. So that
2021,
yep.
Exactly. So it shows it went down. Either way, the numbers. My point with these things is that.
But that was overall. This is overall.
Okay.
This is overall 3D. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to break it down for you and just show what portion of it is metal.
Got it. I see. So my point remains is two-part. Number one, there's a huge opportunity in resin 3D printing where the technology has been proven out for over a decade now, right? Whereas metal 3D printing, we're just getting to the cusp of them proving that out and getting, clients to understand and customers to understand what we can do there. Whereas the resin 3D printing, because it's had so much time in the market and because so many printers have come out and so much material that has been printed has been shoved through that pipeline, it's now become a more stable technology. So we've just bought a new machine, and Roger can speak more to that, but that's one of the areas where we're going to target more growth because we see it as more efficient. The technology is more proven. You have to explain it less to customers. And as a side note, before I give that to, and I'll answer that question too that Michael put out there, but as a side note to that market, that's completely undervalued, right? So that's what they're saying today. And a lot of those numbers are based on machine sales, not necessarily parts that are getting made. So when you look at Desktop Metal and a lot of these companies that are making the actual machines, a lot of time that's what they're talking about. So imagine that's not talking about the manufacturing market, which is in the trillions of dollars. And I don't want to underscore that because it'll make us feel even smaller, like we should be doing more. But the truth is that those are numbers based on the machines. And the only reason they're doing that is because the actual making of the parts is still a little bit smaller because they just created these machines, guys. This is not like these machines have been around for a century, right? They're just proving out those technologies. So, but to your question directly, one of our strategies is to attack the resin market more. And Roger can tell you how we're doing that and some of the new equipment we got there.
Well, one thing I want to say, Eric, is any industry, show me how many different industries have over a 20% compound annual growth rate. I mean, if you look that up, it's pretty amazing, which just means opportunity everywhere. You want to focus in on that opportunity. We picked up, we've been doing resin printing a little bit on the side for a few years, but we finally picked up a real full-blown industrial 3D resin printer. It's called a Nexa 400 Pro, but that establishes your spot in the marketplace. That means that you're dead serious about it. And some people might think, well, printing metal or plastic, they're all fantastic. It comes with the territory. We were asked to print so many times in plastic, and we started looking at the numbers on that and thought, you know what, this makes a lot of sense too. So it's along with the technology of 3D printing in general. You pay for the technology, you have a higher profit rate business model. That's just what technology has done for manufacturing throughout history. And the resin printing is interesting, and all along the metal one too. But I wanted to mention there's a lot of these online marketplaces like Shapeways, Xometry, Fathom, Fast Radius. They've been chasing this model down, but nobody's really made it work that well because of the relationships that you need to have with that customer. They become so complex trying to make it simple. We're finding that a lot of the customers are saying, we don't want to use those platforms. Just give us parts that are good, that we can count on you and give them to us on time. And that's metal printing and that's resin printing and many other printing processes, but that's the ones that's keeping our plate full right at the moment for sure.
Maybe speak, Roger, on the medical company that we were printing for, not the company, but what we're printing for that sector and what those margins look like.
Yeah.
I know they were smaller orders, but it gives them an idea of kind of what we're chasing.
Yeah, a lot of what we're doing with the resin printing, one of our customers does medical models, which a lot of people, I didn't even understand what a medical model was, but as people are changing the way that surgeries, there's robotic surgeries, there's, the computer aspect of that. So there's tons of people being trained to help put our bodies back together. So a lot of these parts that we're building for them right now are sample models to train the new surgeons. As the best old surgeons are cycling out, there's a huge demand for young people to learn how to properly bolt us back together, and they want to do it on models. So it's a used product, and a lot of it is designed to be for the doctors training their interns, the colleges, the institutions that are training the medical.
So the difference is, and I think I forgot the name of the screw, and if it comes to me, I forget, but we made a big deal about it in the office one day. And usually what happens is when they're doing that in a real body, it's made of titanium, right, Roger?
Correct.
And titanium is a super expensive metal. So when the doctor is training, they rather do it with resin or plastic screws.
And
right?
and that's what the metal printing has taken over the industry, as far as titanium is a metal that is not rejected by the body. So for the first time, they were machining all that, but now they're able to put structures in all these little titanium parts that your body bone grows to so well. They're having a much higher success rate with the metal printing implants into the body. So it's driven that whole market to expand drastically. And for every one of those metal printed pieces, they need a model. Some of them sometimes they ask for metal models, sometimes they ask for plastic models. Either way, we can provide them with that.
And keep in mind too, is just something to think about. The material sector in 3D printing is still forming as well. So after the machines came, right? The machines just came. After the machines came, you had to figure out what kind of metal could they print. And when I first got to 3DX, self-admittedly, I thought metal was metal, right? Steel, right? And then Roger shows me a chart of all the different kinds of steel, right? That's just steel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember, having the aha moment. Wow, there's, this many kinds of steel. And then there's this. So the point is, at additive manufacturing, metal 3D printing at the beginning had limited resources into the kind of materials we could actually 3D print. And the last conference me and Roger went to, we saw material companies, just popping up everywhere with different kinds of materials. So now all of a sudden you can 3D print out of gold, and you can 3D print out of copper, and these things that were just unimaginable just a few years ago. Forget about the sector, but literally years. It hasn't even been that long that new materials are surfacing, and they're still surfacing every single day. Metallurgists, right? Am I saying that right? Metallurgists and chemical engineers are putting together these material compounds that actually can be, put in these machines to print. So that's exciting, because every time a new, ingredient or material comes our way, it opens up the market even bigger, right? And that's something that's happening right now as we're talking.
Well, for the first time in history, all materials, metal and plastics, if you want to call them that, composites, the engineer is able to dictate how he wants that material to react. So in metal, he may want to add 0.8 more chromium, or a little bit of manganese, or a little more iron. And before he was stuck with just what was available from the factory mills. But now it's opened up a whole new world of manufacturing to the engineers, because they're not handcuffed to the type of material that they have to buy. They can say, we can blend our own on this. And it's happening also in the plastic and resin world too. So it's pretty exciting from the engineering standpoint. It's the whole world is opened up to the possibilities of manufacturing for them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think all right, it's a machine, it stamps out a part, boom, it moves on. Do you remember back when 3D printing started? I didn't know what was. I work in education, and when I saw the technology department, we got our first 3D printer. It was mind blowing. But if you look at the quality, through the newer machine compared to an older machine, we've come light years. And so the fact that you guys were ahead of the curve a little bit, and that speaks volume for the industry that you're serving. But yeah, we've come a long way.
And if anyone ever gets the chance to go up to Ferndale and take a view of the shop, you're going to see some of those ancient machines there, because Roger was playing with these machines and tinkering and trying to understand them way before we were a public company. So you'll see some remnants of some old machines there that, we're probably printing those sketchy parts at the beginning out of resin. And yeah, to see how far we've come really is amazing.
Yeah, I have that machines in '07. It was printing golf heads at the time, right? So happy to show it.
Now, I do want to get to some, well, let's call it excitements. Recently, and you knew
I
the
see
guys knew
what
this
you
was
did
coming.
there. I see what you did there.
Yeah. Well, this was a recent tweet, and this is from a well-known financier who's been on the show, actually, Brett Rosen. he put this out there. Ask them if they ever plan on paying me back any of the money I invested in them more than 3 years ago. I'm not bitter, as I think Dddx has real potential. So I had some shareholders and some traders reach out to me and be like, what's going on here? And so I'm going to give you guys the floor to pretty much address that and address the shareholders and address Brett. I mean, and whatever you want to do, the floor is yours, guys.
Yeah, look, we appreciate RB Capital and Brett Rosen. He was a big investor in our company. We have a convertible there at our option to convert that debt. So, you know, if that needs to be taken care of, we can always convert it. We like to always be in constant communication with our shareholders and our investors. We're in communication with Brett. So, you know, when the time comes to convert that, if it needs to be converted, it will be converted. But all we can say is we appreciate Brett Rosen. He knows that there's a convertible there, and he knows that excitement comes with, you know, tagging the tickers and having the conversation online. So we always thank him for that. You know, I reached out and actually thanked him for that. So, you know, the truth is we have a convertible. We have the option to convert. And if we need to convert, we'll convert. But, you know, the convertible, I think, is at 60 cents, 50 cents. We're trading at 2 cents. It wouldn't be a great move for him. We don't like to screw any of our shareholders, not our long-term shareholders, not our small shareholders, and definitely not our big shareholders. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at. We have that in a freeze mode right now. And when the time is right, we'll settle that.
Right on. And I did, you know, he's not shy. That's for sure.
No. He's colorful. And look, we appreciate him, right? He was one of the biggest investors. He is one of the biggest investors in Dddx. And we appreciate his comments, his questions, and any kind of engagement he gives us. You know, he's an influencer, to say the least, on Twitter. So when he mentions our stock ticker, it gives it, you know, it shines a light on us. So we always appreciate him for that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the traders, especially in the BFC community, you know, graduates of 2020 and 2021, as I like to say often, you know, there are so many different elements to a stock in the OTC and in general. You know, we didn't know about convertibles. We educated ourselves really about restricted, convertibles, the impact on the share price, dilution, all these things. The value of hype, the value of an acquisition, the value of anything. And so it does go a long way. So I appreciate your transparency. And, you know, you guys have always been great. And I know you guys have a ton of questions here. So I just want to get to, and Harold, you're not getting off the hook. I have a really meaty question for you.
Rats. You pesky kids, I would have got away with it.
So I'm gonna just get right to this. I know they've been popping up. Anthony DeVideo, one of my main men over there at the BFC Discord. How many 3D printers do you guys now have active?
Yeah, we have 2 metal printers and 3 resin printers.
Do you plan on expanding that?
And an FDM printer. So,
okay, didn't you just recently get one, or did you sell one? You just
No, we bought one.
You bought one. Okay, awesome. And that was a resin.
Yes, it was resin. To answer your question, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to expand it.
It's technically photopolymer resin.
So here's the other thing, right? I say, oh, it's a plastic 3D printer, and Roger has to correct me because I don't know that there's different kinds of plastic, right? The same way I didn't know there's different kinds of metal. So for the lay people, it's plastic, it's resin. But for the engineer out there, Roger, what is it?
It's a photopolymer printer. Yes.
Photopolymer.
Yeah, the resin, photopolymer resin printer.
All right. We have
yes. Hey, hold on. To answer your question, yes, we'd love to. You know, part of our strategy is getting rid of the subtractive equipment and replacing it all with additive equipment. So to answer your question, are we going to get more machines? Yeah. Eventually, we'll be outfitted with rooms and rooms worth of 3D printers. Right now, we're trying to monetize and get profitable the 3D printers we have. But yeah, eventually, we'd like to be, you know, the one-stop shop for anybody who's looking to do anything in 3D printing and to have enough capacity to take on the biggest of the biggest orders.
Well, yeah, just this last year, real quick, sorry, Eric.
No, you're good.
We had 550 taper CNC machining centers. We've sold 3 of them this last year. One of them weighed 70,000 pounds and got shipped to India. And then we're clearing that out. We have 2 left. Those machines, when the time's right, we'll be moving those out to use that space for additive manufacturing.
So to put it in perspective of how big that machine is, I'm trying to get an idea of probably the size of a tank, right? Yeah. That machine that we shipped out there, because a lot of people don't realize that. I got there when I looked up and saw the machine. I said, "Holy moly!" Right? I didn't realize the machines were this big. But you're talking about, I mean, the size of a tiny home, if not bigger than a tiny home. So. Getting those machines out of that valuable square footage and replacing it with additive is part of our strategy that we're executing on and that we have executed on over the last year.
And it makes sense. And that last question sort of ties into this and what you guys are talking about. I may have asked this question before, and you touched on this a little bit earlier. But what are your average profit margins per part? I obviously think that it's different based on the part, but I think additive might be the way to go because you're going to increase the profit margins. Roger, last time you were on the show, you gave an astronomical number for your profit margins, if I recall correctly. So answer that one.
How we answer that, Eric, if you look at subtractive machining and overall, I'm going to say if you're running 20% net profit on a subtractive CNC machine shop, you're a rock star. Yeah, there's some guys maybe getting 30%. I've only heard of them. I've never met them. Most of your average machine shop is probably more around 5%. Now, subtractive machining, the average part per price profit is hard to calculate. So what we've done is we've averaged together a lot of our jobs, and we use this in our presentation. We're over 60%. And I have some people that say, you're conservative, and we do have ones that have been as high as 90%, but you balance those all out, and it's 2 to 3 times multiple of a good running CNC machine shop. And that's the beauty of the technology. If you can afford, you can have, you can enjoy the profit.
All right. We have a question from Michael Singleton. Does AI play any part in your printing today or in the future?
So I'll answer that. So AI just came out, right? Like the proliferation of AI, guys. It's not like AI has been around 10 years and we've been playing, and we definitely don't profess to have engineers in the background writing code for AI. But when ChatGPT came out, we definitely took a hard look at it. We played with it a little bit, to get some of our programming done. We had a couple interviews with the Cool Parts Show and Stephanie Hendrickson from Additive Manufacturing Magazine and discussed kind of what we were doing there. We sent the letter to OpenAI to see, because they had an accelerator fund, and we kind of wanted to be the leader there, right? So we communicated with them. We didn't hear back from them. But yeah, I mean, look, we on the management side, we're using AI, right? Me and Harold and even Roger are using AI to, for everything from responding to, putting together systems. As far as the manufacturing side, we're very, very early on that. Have we played with it? Have we tinkered with it? Yeah. Are we embedded in? Is it embedded into our process? No, not yet. Do I think it will be in the future? Without a doubt. I don't think that AI will escape any business or part of any business. So yeah, I mean, we're using it, and testing it. I think we were. I don't know. I haven't heard of anyone, and I've talked to a lot of CEOs in the additive manufacturing space. When we were writing programs with it or testing programs with it, well, I should say Roger. I shouldn't be taking credit for this, right? But when Roger was testing it, we were the only company. I haven't heard of another company that was playing with that. So we're definitely, there. We don't want to get too ahead of the curve that, we lose sight of the focus, but it's definitely, we're not ignoring it. Let's put it that way. And we're definitely on the edge of that because, like I said, when I talked to the other companies, there was no one else doing it.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's just beginning. Like you said, it's new.
Yeah.
AI is just we're just dipping our toe in the water right now.
Yeah.
Just wait till we're fully immersed in it. I don't know how it's going to go.
You got to be careful with it, right? Because a lot of the things that they're talking about, right? Like it can tell you the wrong answer and it looks right. Right. That's one of the dangers of AI. You ask you what's 4 + 4 and it says 8. And then you say, that's wrong. Give me another answer. And it says 9. And it tells you, so you have to be careful with that. But we're definitely, I mean, as soon as it came out, we started playing with it. So if that answers your question, do I think it'll be in the future? Yeah, I think it will play a big part in the future. I think it still has some work. AI itself has some work to do before you start integrating it in all these fields. Like they have the same conversation in the medical field. Can we put AI in there? Yeah, but are you going to trust it yet? I don't know, man. Yeah, it's like I'm not, I'm not driving a car, cross country that I just, that just came out and doesn't have any history of it. So same thing with AI. But yeah, we're definitely, playing with it. We're playing on the programming side of things, and we'll continue to play with it to see, what else we can do there.
Right on. Michael has a follow-up. Tesla has designed Optimus and continues to design the software units, etc. Do you foresee 3DX printing parts for robotic designs for companies?
Yes, and we already actually printed some 3D robotic fingers for a company called McLean Fog they just built a new building last year to process 1 billion lug nuts a year. And they've been using our 3D metal printed test parts to have those robots grab that lug nut and move it throughout the factory.
Interesting. We say robotics, and right away we think of a full-on robot. One of the things I learned working at 3DX over the last 3 years was robotics have been around, right? That robot arm that moves things in the machine shop or in a manufacturing facility has kind of been around. And so, to underscore what Roger's saying, absolutely. And then to speak on something that Michael's saying that makes me think, right? He said Tesla has designed Optimus. A lot of name dropping here, right, between Tesla and Optimus. But what I want to state is that we have Tesla on a CRM. We have Facebook on a CRM. We have Meta on a CRM. We have Amazon on a CRM. We have Honeywell. We have Boeing. We have all the top, 500 manufacturing technology companies on a CRM. And we're constantly emailing them to let them know, hey, we have capacity. Hey, these are our capabilities. Hey, this is what just happened at our company. And the reason that's so important is because when Facebook or Meta decide, and by the way, Meta put a big investment into additive manufacturing, into 3D printing, right? So here's a $1 trillion market cap company investing in the same sector. Same thing with Amazon. Now, when they're looking for companies to partner, they better know your name, right? So part of the issue here is making sure that they know who 3DX is before we can even have that conversation. We can't just walk in. So we've been on that for the last 6 months, is really just kind of bombarding the engineers in those departments and the technologists in those departments to just create awareness that, hey, we exist. We've been in the industry for a long time. And when the time is right, and, a lot of times those guys start projects and then they outsource the whole thing. I saw Apple just, scrap their self-driving car, right, after billions invested there. And doesn't mean they're not going to play in that area, but more than likely means they're going to play with a Tesla or they're going to play with somebody else. And I think the same thing will eventually happen in a lot of these bigger companies where they tried the 3D printing thing and they realized, man, this is a skill set in its own. This is a thing that, we'd probably be better off putting an investment in another company in. And at that time, hopefully they'll know who we are, right? So just to underscore the Tesla thing, we do communicate with them. It's not a two-way dialogue, but we're definitely hitting their inbox to let them know, hey, we exist. This is what we do. These are our capabilities. And when the time's right, I'm sure that, something will proliferate from that.
Right on. I'm going to keep moving on with some questions here. Own ER, how come those profits, and I think he's referring to the profit margins, are not being reflected on your company's financial statements, and how much money do you currently have in the bank? And I wanted to point something out here. This was your latest quarterly.
Yep.
So the revenue, it's increased slightly. You guys did reduce your operating expenses,
Correct.
and so right now, I don't want to use the term stagnant because I think that's too... That's a
Yeah,
negative
that may
moving in the right
yeah.
direction, but what are you guys doing to really explode that?
So I'll answer that question directly. First, we're getting rid of the subtractive side, so we're losing that revenue. We're losing that revenue. So what you've seen and you will continue to see for a little bit here, is us getting rid of that revenue and trying to replace it with this new revenue. Again, this new revenue doesn't come at the push of a button. It comes from transforming customers and creating new customers in that segment. So that's part of the reason why those profits aren't reflected on the financial statement. And then how much money do you currently have in the bank? Not enough. And it changes all the time. And you'll find out in our next filing. So we don't want to, give you guys a number that's going to change at 9 a.m. because money's always coming in and out. We're paying suppliers. We're paying employees. We're getting invoices in. We're getting, we're paying invoices out. So it's not enough. I'll tell you that much. We'd love to have, 100 million in the bank and let us buy, 100 new machines and put together, a huge marketing campaign for Boeing and Tesla and all these other companies. But as far as the profits, we're getting rid of a whole division, which was, by the way, the bedrock of our revenue, right? And it's a really bold move for us because it's basically saying, look, we're going full steam, one way direction on additive manufacturing. And it's a gamble, right? We're taking our legacy revenue and getting rid of it. So that's what you're seeing happening in our financials. But I appreciate the question, owner.
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 All right. Well,
I actually owner. I get it. He's an owner of the companies. Okay, I get it.
But no, I think it was a good question. And
Absolutely,
you guys are going balls to the wall with additive.
Yeah.
And I think the long-term potential there is great. Harold,
Hey, look,
I have a question for Harold.
Okay, one more thing though, really quick for owner. Look, those questions are important, and those are the questions that we don't hide from. Number one, and we want our shareholders to ask us, right? So unlike other companies where they want to hide the revenues, they want to hide conversation about the stock price or a convertible, we've been transparent from day one. It's one of the things that I've been most proud of at our company, or one of the things I'm proud of at our company. But it's one of those questions that if you're a shareholder, know that we'll at least always answer that question. We're not going to hide from the tough questions. And if you have it before a Buffalo Fireside Chats, again, my phone number is on my Twitter, or you can reach out to the company and we'll talk to you directly.
Yep. And real quickly, and I will get to that follow-up in a second, owner. I'll mark that one down. And all right, and I actually had something to follow up with. Actually, guys, if you want to know, it's funny. I remember when you were first on the show, Nick, more than a year ago, and you want to watch a meaty podcast. We went for, I think it was almost 2 hours. We had a 2-hour.
Those days are done. Those days are done. You have a too cool of an intro. Your intro's too good. I can't be here now. I got to dress up to come on your podcast.
You shared a lot of insight. I learned a lot from that podcast, and if you want to see where this guy's mind's at, go back, go through the archive, and look at the original podcast with Nick Coriano.
You're scaring me. I might have to go check it out.
I know. Did I say that? Harold, I want to talk about acquisitions.
Sure.
I know you're the acquisition man over there at Dddx. What can you give us in regards to anything on the horizon in regards to acquisitions or anything in that realm?
So right now, and one other thing too, in addition to acquisitions, also business development or biz dev as well. But so in terms of acquisitions, so nothing on the front burner right now, other than still continuing to engage with essentially metal shop or shop owners, and then in addition to that, companies and businesses that we see with regard to synergistic opportunities to collaborate. So that's where we're at right now. We're still working and building out relationships. So, but when the time's right, I think we'll definitely be looking forward to getting out here in front of it and connecting with BFC once again.
Oh, yeah.
Harold, so that's right. There's some great opportunities there, but
and not to we've looked at a lot of acquisitions, right? We've shopped acquisitions, we've talked to shop owners, we've come close to some, and it really underscores why we don't put out PRs on some of these things, right? We had one slip through our fingers just last month that looked very promising, right? And if we had put it out there, we would have had a lot of egg on our face because it couldn't be solidified and the numbers weren't right. But yeah,
there's the danger of the LOI. When you
and we don't want to be that company. We don't want to be the company putting out an LOI and then backtracking on it. We had egg on our face when we tried to put the last acquisition through, and it for various reasons it didn't go through, which I think was beneficial to the company actually. But we don't want to be that company. We see the OTC landscape. We know the games that are played in the OTC. We don't want to be the company that's hyping up an LOI and then the shareholders are left with a bag because the stock runs or there's something that happens and we don't fulfill that obligation. So we rather, once the deed is done, we'll put the news out there. But we've been in communication with, acquisition targets. We're constantly shopping acquisition targets. But to Harold's point, there's nothing on the front burner right now.
Yeah, and I got to ask, and I'm going to jump up a couple questions. And owner did follow up. Does 3DX plan on taking any more money from RB Capital in the future, or any financier, or any funder? Would it be worth it to do that and expand the share structure a little bit if you had a really substantial acquisition? Would that be worth it?
Yeah, look, if the numbers make sense, then the
Yeah.
numbers make sense. If the numbers don't make sense, the numbers don't make sense. So I've learned in my career, my short career here in the OTC, to never say never. And never be too affirmative until it's done, So if it's not done, it's not done. There's nothing done. There's nothing on the table. If there is something on the table, we'll make sure it's to the benefit of all the shareholders.
All right, and I know we're on a time constraint, Roger. I know you have like only a couple minutes left, but I wanted to make sure that we get this due diligence done, and I appreciate you guys taking the time. I know it's hard to latch up schedules sometimes.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you having us, man.
Well, it's great, and it's a great way to kick off the week. I'm off this week, so I'm lucky. I get a chance to hang out with the family. I get the chance to look at the markets without sneaking it in between classes, and
they're gonna listen to this podcast one day and be like, "Oh, that's what this guy was doing."
So I thought he was texting on his phone. He was checking his Schwab account. I'm gonna bang right through these questions. If we could give these guys some quick, efficient answers. John Dunn, are you producing any parts international yet, or are you entirely producing for the U.S.? Also, how competitive are you in China compared to China? I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we do produce parts internationally, but I guess it's a common border. We're very close to Canada. We have several customers up there. Other than that, no other countries right now. Now, compared to China, I'm not going to say we can directly compete with China hands down just because of their labor costs. But one thing, when you purchase a technology that doesn't need the high skilled labor, it thins that margin down quite a bit. And by the time you factor in the supply chain issues, the shipping issues, the international global issues, our technology here with 3D printing in North America is probably still the largest in the world because we have a huge market here and people are not taking the risk they used to take with China.
Yeah, I think the competitive nature against China really is the onshoring effect that we saw at COVID, right? Like COVID saw a bunch of companies that said, "Hey, we may not want to wait for parts. If there's a global or political scenario that limits our take from China, we don't want to be, dependent on them." So I think that's really where our competitive advantage lies in regards to China specifically.
Right on. All right, Anthony DeVideo has a follow-up. Is printing parts for prosthetic limbs in the healthcare industry a sector 3DX is looking at?
I would say we're looking at it. The prosthetic limbs is a little bit different of a process. One of our main customers makes a ton of prosthetic limbs, and we print parts to go inside those for them. But the actual limbs themselves, I don't see that on our radar anytime soon.
And it makes sense because you would supply the hardware for that, not the actual design and prosthetic limb itself. So that was a good question.
Hey, Anthony, by the way, thank you for all the engagement on Twitter, man. I see you.
He's awesome.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I
and need the video. That guy is awesome. He's one of my favorite BFC Discord supporters, and he's been along for the ride. I actually got a chance to meet him down in Miami last year. We were at a shareholder meeting, and it was nice. It was a good time, wasn't it?
Oh, nice. Well, that's a little bit of a layup. We have a shareholder meeting coming as well this summer.
All right.
We're going to do a shareholder event, Anthony. I hope you can make it. I hope everybody listening can make it. And we're doing it in conjunction with GRPS and EGYF. And the three CEOs will be presenting their annual statements, what we've done for the last year, and what the plans are for the next 3 years. And we're deciding on a location. It's probably going to be, I'm not going to say that yet, but it will be somewhere where people will want to come. Or that the money's
shrimp farm
there.
Down in Texas.
No. We're not going to do it on the shrimp farm.
I just want more shrimp, man.
It won't be on the shrimp farm, and it won't be in Ferndale. It'll be at a location with a major international airport, and it will be this summer. So stay tuned for that. But get ready for that because I think it's going to be a great event for a lot of the shareholders there. They'll get to see the three companies, and the three companies can share resources, share shareholder bases, and it's going to be a good time. So. That's a Buffalo Fireside exclusive.
It is an exclusive. I should have busted out the breaking news.
You want to do it? I can repeat it.
Rob would have done that. Rob's not with us today, but
tell Rob we missed him too.
I'll tell Rob I dropped the ball. I dropped the breaking news ball. I do have one more question that we could get to, and this is one more question. Owner says, if the pivot in the current business model doesn't work, what are the chances of bankruptcy on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the greatest chance
Don't
of
you
being
ever
great.
talk like that, owner? I
Don't
can't
you
believe
talk like that.
How the hell would you talk like that? Look, I'll take this question. One of the things that, first of all, there's always a chance, right? But one of the things that I appreciated when I first flew to Ferndale, Washington, from an outsider before I became an insider, was how many people were involved in the company. And I've said this on Twitter. I've said this before on Buffalo Fireside Chats. The more people involved in a company, the less likely it is to go underwater, because God forbid something happens to Roger or me or Harold, there's still other people that are interested and involved that could fund the company, could build the business, could run the company, could run the business. So I think there's a very, very, very low chance of that ever happening again. You never say never, but I mean, I'd give it a 1 or a 2 if 10 is the greatest chance of happening. I don't see it in our future. If you've met Roger or spent any time with him, you know that he's a bull in a china shop. The guy is relentless. And it's one of the reasons I took a position. I was confident enough to, sign a 5-year deal with an OTC company. Like, find somebody else crazy enough to take a 5-year stance, right? Like, just the chances of them being around in 5 years is great enough. So I feel like I have a half a brain and a little bit of common sense. And I saw that they had the willpower to stick around. So that's something that never has ever even concerned me in the least. So I hope
And consistency is key, though, too, because I mean, I've seen companies go through like 3 CEOs in 3 years, and they're constantly changing it. I think let's be real. Sometimes in the OTC, sometimes it can be a crapshoot, but the fact that I tend to gravitate towards companies, and I know, Nick, you probably feel the same way, that have a solid business model, that have a consistent management, a consistent what's the word, transparency with the shareholder.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important, as traders and investors. I like the fact that I was talking about the same people with Dddx a year and a half ago,
To double down on your messaging, Roger's always been there. There's always been a door I could walk through to see the operations, right? There's always a door. Like, I could just go there on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and there will be somebody there making a part. So between those two things, and then if you ever get a chance to go to Ferndale, you'll realize that the machine, I've said this before on Buffalo Fireside Chats, but I said, I walked in that shop and saw so much machinery that I knew that if part of my French, if the shit hit the fan, Roger could sell a machine. And that's exactly what he's done traditionally to keep the business alive, instead of going and taking some toxic funding. He moved the machine, took some cash, reinvested it in the business, made some more money, bought another machine. So the fact that the company has assets to do that really deminimizes the chances of us ever having to file bankruptcy. I don't even know why that conversation. Don't even say that word anymore, owner. DM me, good sir. No, but very low. I would say 1 or 2. I mean, 1, really, the chances of that ever happening.
Right on. And when you guys do have the date and the location, I want you to drop it on the show. We'll do a Buffalo Fireside exclusive.
Yeah, let's do that. When we come up with the location and the date, we'll bring back all 3 CEOs and and have a little fiesta and a disclaimer party and invite everybody down.
Absolutely. I want to finish with one question. By the way, thank you guys for putting awesome questions in the chat. This is what this is all about. We have 108 people watching right now, which is great.
Hey, appreciate it.
It's all about the first diligence. I love doing this. This is actually really exciting. I especially enjoy it when I really like the companies and I'm invested. Yes, by the way, I am invested in Dddx. All right.
Yeah. Disclaimer: we're all shareholders here. So, everybody's a shareholder.
Yes, we're shareholders, but I have restricted shares, and so you'll see my name on the filing. You know what I mean? So don't get all conspiratorial. Yes, I am a private shareholder here.
4 restricted shareholders, by the way. We're all restricted for people that don't know.
That's it.
And we're restricted. Yeah.
So listen, I know that some people have been a little down because the share price has retracted. People are a little down and out with it. Everybody gets it. What can you tell shareholders? I'm going to give anybody. This is your closer. You could give your closing argument statement, whatever you want to call it. What do you tell shareholders that aren't happy with the share price and expected you guys to be further along in the process, let's say, and maybe even closer to a potential uplist? What would you like to leave everybody with today? Yeah,
I'm pissed too. Right? All of us are pissed too. So if you guys are upset, trust me, we're not happy either. But let me just underscore that with a few things. If you guys look up X1, which was one of the largest players in the metal 3D printer, billions market cap, billions, market cap in the billions, hundreds of millions of dollars raised, right? Go look up their stock price today. It doesn't exist, right? And it's because they got bought out by Desktop Metal at a tiny, tiny valuation. And after they converted those shares, guess what happened to Desktop Metal stock? It also went down. So if you look at the percentage rates of every other 3D printing company, the percentage losses are greater than 3DX, right? So as far as investing in it, and by the way, if you look at the technology curve, it's expected at the beginning of the technology curve when you're dumping a ton of money in to prove a new technology that it's gonna go down and it's gonna lay flat for a while until the technology takes off and jumps up. So I mean, directly to any shareholder, hey, look, we're the largest shareholders in the company. No one cares more than us, man. We care. Where our compensation is directly tied. I mean, Roger's put off all his cash compensation. Me and Harold don't get paid a dime. We're all sitting on stock waiting for this to work, right? Not waiting, but making it work. So I would say, number one, look at our competitors and realize that percentage loss, we're doing better than a lot of those guys, right? And we've spent less money to accomplish more than those guys have done in the sector. So, that would be my take on it. Just look at the competitors. Look at Desktop Metal. If you had invested $100 into Desktop Metal, you would have lost more than you lost at 3DX, right? So keep that in mind, and then understand it's a long-term investment and dollar cost average. If you're a true believer in the technology, and I'm not here to give you investment advice, but if you're a true believer in the technology, we have a tight cap structure. We're super transparent. Buy it again. It's at an all-time low. The psychology behind investing, and I'm guilty of this as well. It's like you want to buy it when it's up. It's like, meanwhile, we're at a 52-week low. This is when you should be gobbling it up. And this is when people get scared, which is why investing is so hard, by the way. It's not so easy, because really you should be buying when it's red, not when it's green. The problem is we got more hype when the stock ran from 7 cents to 30 cents back in 2021, which, by the way, was not our doing. What that was the overall market and the Biden administration and every other government printing a ton of money. And you saw everything run, right? But meanwhile, that's when all the shareholders were getting in. And it's like, if you had a time machine, you would understand you don't want to buy it then. You want to buy it now. And so as far as the shareholders, my message, we're not happy either. Number one, we don't control the stock price. We try to do everything in our power to, put out the right PRs and the right news and, do events, do situations like this to try to help the shareholders and our situation out. But I would say compare it to other metal 3D printing companies, and you'll realize rather quickly that we didn't take a big percentage loss compared to other people in the sector. Those guys got hammered. I mean, hammered, and they're still getting hammered, by the way. So yeah, it's an overall macro trend, and we're not happy about it either. That's where I'll leave that. We're not happy about it either, but we do think it's a huge buying opportunity.
Yeah.
Roger, Harold, any final thoughts?
Well, my only final thoughts at this point, first of all, thanks once again, Eric. Appreciate it. Excellent introduction. I was confused and taken aback because I was like, holy crap, what is this that I've been on? This is better than anything I've seen on the NASDAQ or so excellent. Well done job. Once again, thank you so much to our shareholders. And again, thanks so much to the people who took the time to join us here on the BFC chat. Thanks for the questions, and I hope we were able to answer all your questions. And if you have any more questions, you can find us also on X. I was about to call it Twitter. It's called X. And fire away any questions and DMs. And again, Eric, thank you so much. Roger, Nicholas.
Yes.
It's a pleasure here.
Thank you, Buffalo Fireside Chats, and everybody that joined in today. So I just want to appreciate the support. And Eric, I want you to send me a picture of that coffee cup, and I'm going to 3D print that for you.
Hey, Rob and Long Bully Stick, see, they're going to try and duplicate this with the 3D.
Not try.
Oh boy.
There we go. There
Those
you
are
go. Come on. You're a shareholder.
Bold words. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me here on the BFC.
Appreciate it, man.
And now I'm getting you guys out of here. Get out of here. Always a pleasure having Dddx on. They are transparent. They will answer any questions that you want. And I want to just see who we have in the chat. let's see, we have 114 people watching live. It's a great Monday night crowd. So John Don, Anthony, owner, the video, Michael, guys, thank you very much for Lisa. There's Lisa. Lisa, you never miss a beat. Never miss a beat. She's the DD queen. But yeah, no, it was a great show, great interview, great content that they gave, and I liked the answers that guys. Reach out to them if you ever have questions about an investment with Dddx. Just reach directly to the company. They will get back to you ASAP. And trust me, we see, for those of us on Twitter or X land, we see Nick Coriano all the time on the twit. I always said, I go, he has motivational thumbs. But I've been more tweeting more, I guess you could say. I still call it Twitter. I still call it Twitter. But yeah, there's a lot to look forward to this week. It's a lot of exciting things happening. I know that look at ILIS, we're excited about what's going to be happening, what we think is like any day now. And so we're waiting for it. And I hope that we get some really crazy news. IGPK with that merger, that's looking exciting. You know, a little change of pace since last week when all hell broke loose, but it looks like that the company coming in is going to have a very high valuation. So we're going to see where things land after that reverse split. Yes, I said reverse split. I've never held through a reverse split. This will be my first one. But I do think the due diligence is checking out. And I think one thing that, Lisa Matthews made a point in the Discord, and I'm going to share that this week. This is your Discord freebie. They're not doing this for the shareholders that have owned the stock up until this point. They're doing it for their country. They're doing it for China. They're doing it for JFH e-commerce, and they want to compete with Temu. They want to be a competitor with Amazon. They want to do that. So now I don't, you guys know me. I like to talk to American companies. I like to talk to people that are accessible here on this continent, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see how this thing plays out, because I think the value here could be absolutely huge. The numbers are mind blowing. And if you ever have questions in regards to that, I mean, we talk about that in the Discord. Lisa throws out some really exciting numbers, but once the split is in, once the valuation happens, I think that, and once we get more actual PR from the company, I think this has absolutely massive potential. And so the DD is still there. I still have 1 million shares of it. Just being transparent. Let's see. Somebody mentioned John Don CYBLCE. I'm not going to waste time talking about it until they're pink current and they're tradable in the United States. And I know you could buy it on Speed Trader. I have 2.6 million shares. I doubled up. I'd more than doubled up. And so, but I don't want to speculate. I want to wait to see what happens. There is some movement and things are moving in the right direction, it appears. But, anything could happen. We don't know. So once more filings come in, once they communicate with the shareholders, then I'm going to get really excited. Now, I will tell you, though, that CE comes off. We go pink current, that thing is going to go ballistic because there is so much buying pressure. That thing's a pressure cooker. It truly is. And then I think ILIS is too. I think SAML is. I think everything associated with ILIS is now too, because people are waiting for huge news. But the investor base wants to see it to believe it. And I get it. I get it 100%. So we're going to see if they bring it. We're going to see if they have that direct merger into a NASDAQ company. And we're going to see if they actually do it. What company has done it? What company has actually got out of the OTC and got to the NASDAQ? It's not easy, and there's no, the thing is this, I don't really question the work ethic of the ILIS management team whatsoever. I don't question that work ethic of the Dddx management team. CYBL, things are a mess with the paperwork. There's CE. A lot of investors got burned. However, I'm not going to question the work ethic of Mark Schmidt, who's went to Ukraine, to advocate for their products and landed government deals that you can see on the Department of Defense filings. I can't say anything about IGPK's management because obviously they built a substantial business, but there's a lot of companies out there that look at GRPS. There's another one. I'm just going to rattle these companies off. I don't question Adam Thomas's work ethic. I think he's a bull. He's strong. He has a clear vision. They're executing their plan, and I got a chance to try the product. He got that thing to me overnight. I don't question that work ethic. And so those are the kinds of people that I want to invest in. FLES, I don't question Chris Davenport's work ethic. That guy is 100% in. Steve Reinhardt's AITX. don't question his work ethic one bit. The guy is transparent. You know, you can talk about the share structure all you want, but there's no doubt that that guy's work ethic, he's passionate about his business. And so that's one thing that I like to focus on is the people behind the stock. I like to invest in people. Yeah, it's cool to invest in a cool idea. Here's another one. David Lee, IVDA, great work ethic. The guy's transparent. He is all about the company. He's about growth. I know I'm missing a bunch, but this is exciting. All right, this is an exciting. It's exciting because we get to find out who's real and who's full of shit, and that's why I like when people come on the show because they have to answer questions live, and I'll always put up your questions, you know, and it's nice. It's just it's a nice thing to do. But I like to invest, like I was saying, I like to invest in people more than the product. I like to invest in the vision, in the business model. I'm going to go back to ILIS. I like the fact that, you know, they talked about 4 business units and how they laid it out at that first shareholder meeting. I'm freaking excited, you know, and Nick said something just now. He's like, you know what? People want to buy when it's green, you know, and this is the truth. If you really believed in any of the due diligence for any of these companies that you really believe in, let's say you love the company, but you're sick of the share price or whatever, this is when you buy. In my opinion, not financial advice. This is when you buy. Is when the stock has the crap knocked out of it. When it's low, when it's beaten down, that's when you buy it. You know, I'll use IGPK as an example. I waited till that thing hit that quadruple bottom at 0.0067 area. I waited, and I'm glad I did. Probably my best trade. Could have been better. Could have been a much better trade had it not gotten a little greedy and spread out my selling points too far away. But yeah, that's what we do. All right. So that's all I got. I'm gonna stop rambling. You guys have a good night. And by the way, we're gonna be back at this. We're gonna be doing this this Thursday. Yes, I got an interview planned for Thursday at 11 a.m. It's a daytime interview. It's still in the works. We're just ironing out some scheduling things, just ironing out content, and just doing a little more due diligence and making sure that we're wrapped up and ready to bring you a strong interview Thursday. I want to make sure that I'm always at my A game. So be on the lookout. I might put out a tweet and some kind of other PR in regards to what's going on for Thursday. And that will involve ticker AHRO, which we started covering. It was 0.0045 area. And so we're going to see where that goes. And there's a lot of information that gentleman wants to share. And so I don't want to give you any more on that. Just be on the lookout on Twitter, be on the lookout on the YouTube. And that's it. Gentlemen, you have an awesome night. Gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. I know there's ladies and gentlemen there. All right. Gentlemen, signing off. Listen, you guys have a great night. Remember, there's more that binds us than breaks us. Peace out.